Hello, I heard that this is the sort of place where one expresses opinions about video games. The internet? Is that what this is called? Here, give Grandma the mouse. I'm logging on. Dead by Daylight is a game for absolute psychopaths who like to harm innocent people for fun, but is also a game for the thrill seekers of the world to enjoy their own demise before they buy their own proper ticket to hell. Is what my hot take would be if I was a nuanced heathen. Looks upon my own degree with dismay. Dead by Daylight is both a murder simulator ride for weirdos and a competitive strategy game played by even weirder people. And I guess sometime last year I found myself in the middle. Hi, I'm Miss Video Games, opinion haver, and genuine video game scholar. And let me tell you what, nothing quite confuses me like watching just about any game of Dead by Daylight, or DBD, as it's referred to by people who have it open one too many times on their desktop when they should have been watching porn. I feel like I'm giving the immediate impression that I dislike this game or find it frustrating, and I do, but I also want to impart at the beginning here that, aside from jokes, I legitimately like Dead by Daylight, and more than anything, I want to talk about what makes it an interesting game experience rather than, say, a good one. Because I think even fans of the games would look at some of the plays and just, lose their fucking mind. Oh, it's kind of a bad one, huh? Part 1. I guess I have to talk about serial killer fetishization, even though I'd much rather be asleep. So friends, here we are. I'm sure you were worried if you were going to make it here to even have this conversation, but alas, you have made it. Even if life makes meat of us all, you still took time out of your busy day to talk about how a bunch of girls really want to bone Jeffrey Dahmer even though he's both gay and dead. So Dead by Daylight luckily has not yet brought any actual serial killers into its fantasy challenge strategy game that is totally not about killing people, but the game does have a nice smattering of opening killers that kind of feels like your regular roster of movie fiends. Then, if you go do some microtransactions, add up your finances and see if you can still feasibly eat and play Amanda from Saw, and then you're ready to party. And by party, I mean grind. And by grind, I mean get frustrated and close out of that tab and open Slay the Spire for the millionth fucking time. The point is, Dead by Daylight gives you the option to play as many different serial killers. You can choose to be your favorite serial killer. Oh. See, there it is. That's the sort of thing that the in-game capitalism allows us to kind of forget. Because ultimately, what's the difference between this and, Fortnite? A lot, actually. But you have to peel back the layers of flesh. Oh, fuck me. This is too much. So I feel I need to kind of walk us down a path that we've been walking, but maybe you never noticed before. See, slasher films have been around since, well, I guess Psycho, or some would argue even earlier, or some would argue later. Either way, with every slasher film that makes its way to our retinas, we hear the same arguments I find myself making here. It's serial killer fetishization. This is trying to make murder look super cool, and women look super weak. This has an uncomfortable irresponsibility that makes me consider my morality, which I dislike because I believe myself to be invincible. I am but a fool. When you watch the film Halloween, you have a very visceral reaction to the murders on screen, assuming you have the ability to comprehend empathy. I don't think the movie makes Michael Myers look more than anything like a menacing threat. Most of the film, the idea is to remove his human identity and make him into a monster. And I feel like most folks don't watch John Carpenter's masterwork, Halloween, and think, dang, I want to be just like Mikey. Well, luckily, if you are that specific motherfucker, then welcome to Hell World, because someone made a video game just for us. I mean you. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is hardly a film about serial killer fetishization. Matter of fact, I think the movie was intended more to give us a peek into what it would be like to be like a cow in a meat processing plant. a bummer. Which is naturally why, in Dead by Daylight, you too can stalk menacingly around, clubbing teenagers with hammers. I feel like one can easily look at the many things that Dead by Daylight does casually and could read some very bad messaging into it. Matter of fact, I think the game actively engages that aspect of you very early on. Like for instance, the game pipelines you right when you open it. Either you play as a killer, which you can't imagine yourself doing well, so most players have a tendency, I think, to learn the game by playing Survivor. Now this is a completely different game. Seriously, it's a lot more of like a wheel game experience where playing killer is about hitting things with your dick. I mean weapon. So because of this, the game kind of stacks up in the favor of the Survivor. Ultimately, the game isn't all that scary. It's more like drastic and intense. And to be honest, playing as the killer is monumentally more scary and disappointing. The folks that typically abandon the hardened veteran way of surviving the game with nothing but a fucking tackle box, playing killer is a very new challenge. It becomes a stick game where you have to anticipate a survivor's psychological choices so you can make better ones. It's a strategy game deep down. And of course, in doing that, you unlock perks and tools that help you kill random people. And the perks have a tendency to kind of be a shit time, and this miraculously balances the game in the killer's favor slightly. Although if you've ever watched me stream, you know perks don't really help when you're really fucking bad. All of this is to say that it's easy to let the actual ideology of what you're doing take a backseat to the game's actual mechanics. The game desperately requests that you get over your immediate impulses to try to find the good zone. Just play as your favorite killer. It'll only cost you $7, all of your remaining dignity, and just a little bit of that little soul you got in there. It's a good soul, and I'd like to have it. That's a direct quote by the design team, by the way. Jokes about microtransactions aside, the game gives you a unique and complex opportunity. Yes, you can kill people without repercussions, and you can do it in any skin you like. It doesn't have to be political, doesn't have to have any motive at all. The killers in Dead by Daylight are motivated by one thing: your continued willingness to kill people for sport. If you really break down why the game is so successful, it's because it has a massive community of people that love it. Not just love it, but worship it and play it constantly. Every day, thousands of people log on to Dead by Daylight to harm people. And at the same thousands log on to be harmed. Has anything ever been so poignant? The reason I brought up Fortnite earlier is to highlight this point here. The game is the same story where thousands log on to die over and over to strangers that still listen to dubstep even though their girlfriend said that she'd had enough of that shit. But the main difference is the variety of experience. In Dead by Daylight, you can at least be given the choice to kill or survive as a priority, and thus, if you choose to kill people, you can't help but assign yourself the villain role. You can see this in people streaming the game. For instance, when you're watching a Dead by Daylight streamer, you can typically immediately tell who's really into the whole villainy thing and who just likes horror stuff and enjoys video games. And while the experience can be both, it's often more fun to take on a villainous persona to play the game with accuracy. You really must become a hardened, brutal killer that doesn't care about the rules if you want to win. On a thematic level, this creates some very interesting problems for the Dead by Daylight enjoyer, because what you really want to do is take on the villain role without fetishizing that role as it actually behaves in society. How can I say it's fun to kill people? I like to pay money to buy serial killers in a game and kill people while also being like, don't fetishize the actual act of killing, the villainous and commonly narcissistic attitudes of serial killers, and how much fun John Wayne Gacy must have been having. Where horror movies have this cognitive dissonance of merely watching people die horribly, here you have to participate and enjoy the violence. Here, if you want a horror movie, you have to make one, and in order to make one, you have to be legitimately intimidating. The only fear this game generates is the possibility of losing the game, not from actually ever becoming a victim. Part 2. Fuck me. And so typically when you're talking about something you like that is questionable, it's often helpful to talk about something much worse to make yourself feel a little better about it. So Friday the 13th was God's mistake. To be fair, I think they tried to do a couple kind of okay things. For instance, it does feel like you're in a Friday the 13th story, given that every match makes no sense, no one really tries to escape, everyone dies willingly. The big draw of the game is getting murdered by Jason in a cool way. Like maybe you'll be the lucky Chad to die in the sleeping bag accident. Spicy. There are a couple really notable things about Friday the 13th that really highlight the trials and tribulations of Dead by Daylight. I mean, if we're talking about serial killer fetishization, that's what Friday the 13th is. If you could define it in a dictionary, it'd be like Friday the 13th, noun, a bad time made by fools that's all about letting Jason put his machete in your butt. See, when you're playing a round of Friday the 13th, besides being inundated with constant racism from the voice chat, you think, dang, I wish this game had some forward linear progression. Look, maybe that's a hot take, but genuinely, I want the game to feel more like I'm building something. And the biggest issue I've had with playing that game at any consistent pace is because it feels like I genuinely waste my time and get nothing out of it. But there it is! Dead by Daylight has that. And that's why the game feels so much more fulfilling. You get some murder coins. You spend the murder coins on a cool tackle box and that makes you a god. Or you can buy perks that helps you fuck over that nasty bastard playing the opposing side. And you know that if you don't do it to them, they will do it to you. The upward progression gives one the illusion that this isn't a contained act of wasting one's time failing to kill people, or at best killing for people and feeling all good about it by yourself. Friday the 13th is a great game for pointing out flaws. I tell you what, it's as if it was created for that express purpose. So you have to obtain items so that you can leave the horror zone, but those items are made intentionally vague, and the only way to learn is to just play more.
Mostly what people do is give up on the task at hand and run around calling Jason racial slurs. And that's great.
But seriously, why would you leave the horror zone? There's really no benefit to leaving. The benefit for staying is you get a ticket to the fucking show. You get to watch all the other people get their shit genuinely wrecked, hilariously, and often graphically broken ways. They released this game on the Nintendo Switch. Jesus fucking Christ. So you hop in a game of Friday the 13th because you're drunk and your boyfriend just told you to go get therapy. Once you're in a lobby, you find that everyone else is also having a shitty day, and often they're really eager to talk about this. Then the game starts and some chucklefuck is given their dream job: being Jason, while the rest of us have to go find a screwdriver or some shit. So then you get to play everyone's favorite game. Is Jason gonna try, or is he a meme king? You really have to hope he's a meme king. So then the absolute meme king himself ignores all the game mechanics and just starts executing the willing because it's very, very funny. Everyone thinks this is funny. Your mom would probably also think this was funny if she'd ever call you back after you or your government finally admitted UFOs were real. Fuck me, this is just paradise, because ultimately you sit back and enjoy your demise as it comes and you all get to have a laugh. This could not be more opposite to the Dead by Daylight gameplay experience, which is often nail-bitingly stressful. This, of course, is propagated by the concept of progress. It's all about the progress and the mission. For a survivor, it's all about making sure generators are fixed at an alarming rate that keeps the killer confused and shitting his pants because his whole Twitch stream chat is gonna make fun of him for failing to kill anyone for the 4th game in a fucking row now. And for a killer, it's all about hanging up the boys before they get that progress done. It's just so simple. In a way, that makes Friday the 13th kind of complicated. It's a hangout game. Matches are like 20 minutes, and they're mostly spent vibing with your fellow player as they eat it. It's surprisingly zen. You can always tell when someone started as a Dead by Daylight killer and then they tried their hand at Jason because they don't get the point of the zen even. Like, whatever genuine competition shows up, all the drunks in chat just moan in displeasure. So does that mean that May likes Friday the 13th better than Dead by Daylight? What? Fuck no! Friday the 13th is one of the shittiest games I've ever spent my money on. It's all but been abandoned by its players. The match lobby times take forever, and because everyone's memeing, oftentimes you get paired with people that just don't even want to have fun and instead just be like really shitty and racist. This sucks, and no one should ever play it. I think I paid $30 for this piece of shit, and you know what? I still open it from time to time just to see if the lights are still on, or if it's become some weird defunct land ride now. And I'm always surprised to see it's exactly the same. Incredible. But again, this could not be more different than Dead by Daylight, which is constantly changing the game up, adding fun new game content that explores all kind of new competitive possibilities. It's been a great game since early access, and it's still being played at about the same rate. Every time there's a new killer, everyone logs the fuck on to see if it's game breaking, and it usually is. The level of meta mix-up does a lot of favors for a game that is, once again, just an arena murder simulator. But somehow, in its ishness, it's invented an entirely new genre of horror game and has actually made the horror games that it seems the fans have always really wanted. Finally, you get to play a horror movie. And isn't it fun to scare each other in such innocent, competitive, and fun ways? I wish it were that simple. But that really is the way we want to look at it. The only real response to all of these things is to say, yes, I know. I already know all this shit. I have seen it myself, and I thought it myself, and I don't really care, and it doesn't really matter. This profound feeling is good, actually, because it's freeing us up to explore our impulses in a much healthier way. The truth is, there's a lot of folks that enjoy a phantasmagorical perspective on their world, like pain, trauma, violence, just about anything. For a person like that, you have to take the bull by the horns and say, I like this. I like the game is like this. I like how fucked up and crazy it is. Because ultimately what Dead by Daylight does, beyond simulating roles in oftenly blatantly horny ways, is activate that phantasmagorical part of ourselves that likes to laugh in the face of gruesome violence and morality. It's better to be like this than someone that feels, I don't know, anxious or depressed or like they have nothing that brings them joy because the human condition bothers them. For many people like that, Dead by Daylight finally gives them all the entertainment that they could ever want. And in a lot of ways, that's me, because this game is ridiculous and hilarious. Part 3. Fuck Dead by Daylight. Okay, so look, go to a video game streaming platform of your choice and just watch someone play this fucking game. It's hysterical, especially if they play well. I love playing as Huntress and running around throwing axes at people, missing blatantly, and then still getting the hit as if the game was solely made to please me and my little goblin heart. And honestly, playing Survivor is a power trip, unlike anything you will ever experience as soon as you get good. I have never wanted to quit more than when I've been playing against one cunning asshole survivor that knows just what to do to push my buttons. Then I end up playing tag with him for like 2 minutes while everyone else just runs away and wow, you fucked that one up, didn't you? Looks like your dad was right. So you hop right back into another match to regain your dignity and holy shit, it just never lets up, does it? It's the exact same match. Sometimes you load into a match and you're like, whoa buddy, it's dark in here. Why doesn't anybody have a light for ol' Michael? Other times you're like, damn, guess I'm killing him at a target. I like the bit of being Myers and just watching people. Like, it genuinely excites me to stalk other people and watch how they play. Look at that. It's like the miracle of life. And now I have to end it. Let me tell you what, playing Dead by Daylight after you've opened your third eye will make you immediately want to close it again. Overall, every Dead by Daylight player likes 2 things simultaneously. Number 1, genuine competition. And 2, to feel like they are superior to all others. This is a contradiction and a paradox. I want my survivors to be really good, but also stupid. I want the killer to be a cunning witch of a beast, but also fall for the simplest trick in the book, you silly bitch. We want a challenge, but we also want to feel better. It's a feel like you're better than other people and punish them with crushing failure simulator. Like seriously, it's a commonality that if you got swept by survivors, they will wait at the exit door until the killer shows up so you can taunt them. That's right, you're a failure and your dad knew that, and that's why he abandoned you with that grocery store employee. But killers aren't much better, TBH. I always feel like a killer playing point guard is somehow bad, but also, I don't want to let go of my kills either. I want to make lamps out of them. I don't pretend to be much more than a casual player, and I refuse to give you any actual advice to playing the game, because I am bad at the game. But if I was to give you some, let's call it meme advice, Okay, palettes are great for both killers and survivors, and a good killer can use one just like a survivor can. It's all about trying to get the other player to make themselves vulnerable. Whether you're wasting a survivor's time, remember that they are also wasting your time. Time is very much the currency of professional Dead by Daylight, and if you want to get that business suit on like little Patrick Bateman, you're going to need to understand that. Agility. Put the bong down, Cheech Marin. You need those senses, which can be very counterproductive for stoners. I'm very sorry. Pay the fuck attention, because the game gives you plenty of tools for just about every character, except for the Deathslinger and the Clown, to keep an eye on everyone's location and keep tabs on what they're doing. I don't have firm opinions on which killers are better than others, but I will say that my favorites are as follows: Myers, Huntress, the Nurse, and Deathslinger. I know, I play the silly cowboy man, because his gun goes shoot. And then it's like, it's not even a fucking gun, it's a harpoon gun. It's a fucking knife gun. Why does everything have to be a knife? I like Deathslinger. He's kind of a failure. You really don't kill that many people, but you do get to do a sweet cowboy voice while you stream until the people in your chat tell you to politely stop. Look, I never said I was good. Matter of fact, I think I blatantly have told you at this point that I am bad at this game. But I will say, Huntress is probably the best character to start with. She's a big mommy queen who hits people with uwu axes and makes them wet their pants. Not with urine. She's really great, and if you want to see an image of her pegging any of the other killers in the game, all you need to do is log on to twitter.com, or twitter.com as they're saying these days. Maybe you should follow me on twitter.com. Ultimately, this game is like a bunch of guys trying to fuck each other in the bushes behind a truck stop. Like, they don't need it to be good. They don't need it to have emotion or drama. They just kind of want to get off. And how can I stop them? I like to get off too. Maybe those truckers are onto something. Part cat. I don't know, man. Why are you even asking me? I have a real immediate aversion to media that strays away from human drama. It makes me immediately detect hollowness, and hollowness is just something I struggle to enjoy. I think we all kind of have a little struggle for that. Like, we want meaning, but we really don't know what that could entail. I don't think that Dead by Daylight players are looking for a whole lot of story or drama. They're looking for a thrill, and that's exactly what they get. They get their thrill, but in my heart, I can't help but feel this hollowness creeping in, and when I think about this, I don't know. Beyond how the progression system in Dead by Daylight gives you the impression that you're progressing in a linear fashion, you really aren't. You're still just sitting right there, looking at the same screen in the same place, and thus, we have to look for meaning elsewhere. But in squinting and looking for meaning that's there, you can't help but see how fucked and weirdly, I don't know, typical all this seems, but somehow it remains a lighthearted adventure people take every day in droves, only to log off and start drawing a nice little porn comic of the characters. And isn't that nice? We've ooh-wooed serial killers now, guys. Are you happy? I'm not. Actually, I'm fine with it. I think that horror has been one very specific thing for a really long time. And that thing is, unfortunately, drawing in rules, drawing in bad drama to make us feel like we're enduring the phantasmagorical for more of a purpose than we are, and we aren't. Things that don't satisfy us are kind of inherent to the horror genre. And more than anything, Dead by Daylight has democratized the way that we see iconic characters and what we can do with them. Now they're all gay, and you can't stop them. Michael fucks Leatherface in his face, and Leatherface fucks the nurse, but so does the doctor. Don't worry, Huntress made it in there too. My point is, this doesn't have to be so serious. Ironically, when I first opened Dead by Daylight, I was kind of appalled at what someone was doing with these iconic characters. But now when I open the game, I fear the survivors and what they're going to do to me while I try to stop them. Because in Dead by Daylight, the survivors kind of have all the power, and that makes it fair. And yes, I do like my horror stupid. Thank you very much. So Friday the 13th? No, that game sucks. I'm sorry, I can't even recommend it as a bit. I was gonna do it. I was gonna be like, it's great. It's great because stupid things are great. But no. I'm sorry. But Dead by Daylight is stupid too. It's also kind of sports. It's sports that we get to play with horror stuff. And I can attest that most horror fans never really got picked for a team for like any sport. It's nice to find one here, even if it's trying to stop a killer from hanging your friends and sacrificing them to a blood god. Do you get it? The blood god is us. But we're not satisfied yet. More blood must be spent to even attempt to satiate this bloodlust. It's like the plot of Cabin in the Woods without Joss Whedon, and we love that. Fuck Joss Whedon. Ultimately, Dead by Daylight is a fun video game that you could check out if you want to. I mean, or you could go outside and touch some grass. I've heard it's nice out there. Sometimes I go to my window and I like peer out, and I'm just like, damn. What's that like? Wow, thank you for listening, watching. I don't know. I did audio with my voice. Strange. I don't do that very often anymore, but I'm going to try to do it more. If you enjoyed this, please let me know by giving me $2 on patreon.com/NickSpheres, or as it's also known, patreon.com/NickSpheres. Okay, please don't type that into the bar, because if you do, you're not going to get there. Also, don't type twitter.com/NickSpheres. That's not going to work either. That was entirely for a bit, and I'm pretty sure it's not even going to, like, people are going to hate the bit anyway. It's Twitter. It's twitter.com/NickSpheres. That's me. Anyway, also consider subscribing. You could also give the video a like. That would be sweet. Dislikes don't matter anymore, which is why I can say whatever I want now, I guess. I guess that's what they're trying to tell me. That's a lot of power to hand me. Anyway, all right. Well, please leave a like now. I'm going to go take the likes that you leave, and I'm going to put them on a big plate, and I'm going to eat them slowly so that I can continue to live. I love you. Goodbye, and don't pee blood.